This weekend, one of the most anticipated films of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine, drops in theaters. I've already seen it, so let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Shawn, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your excitement level for Deadpool and Wolverine. As we go into this is a spoiler-free review. I will not be discussing anything that I did not know prior to going into the film, and I didn't even watch the final trailer that they put out last week. In the mixed section of this video, I will be answering a bunch of the questions people have been asking me. You can also skip ahead at the chapter marks down below in the description. As for me going into this movie, I was very excited and optimistic, but I did have some skepticism because Logan was such a great send-off for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So I had a lot of emotions going in. What do I think about it? Let's get started with the good. And I'll cut right to the chase. This movie is a lot of fun.
Yes! Yes, 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 yes.
If you're going in looking for a bunch of Deadpool and Wolverine hijinks playing around in the multiverse and you just want a big gigantic grin on your face, this movie will absolutely deliver that experience. This is, in a lot of ways, very much an event film in the vein of Spider-Man No Way Home, except with the irreverence of Deadpool, which just opens a lot of doors for all sorts of things that you normally couldn't get away with in a movie like this. The inherent nature of the film makes it memorable and stand out, as it's the only MCU film this year. It's bringing the Fox X-Men universe properly into the MCU. It's Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine. It's Deadpool returning after 6 years. It has a lot of weight on its shoulders, but all that weight is on the shoulders of a very silly and irreverent film. And the movie itself is entirely aware of how crazy it is that this is the movie that's being expected to save Marvel. And it keeps commenting on that.
I am Marvel Jesus.
And there's just something about the juxtaposition of irreverence with importance side by side that's interesting and elevates the whole thing. Of course, the Deadpool films are comedies, and for that reason, this is probably safely the funniest film in the MCU, so long as you're into Deadpool juvenile humor. And right out of the gate, it sets the tone for just how ridiculous, outrageous, irreverent the film is going to be. Comedy is about being transgressive, pushing boundaries, going further and further. So when you're watching a movie that is from Disney, from Marvel Studios, going so hard with some of these jokes, it's really funny in that context. It takes aim at everything and everyone. The actors' personal lives, the studios, their setbacks, mergers, everything is a target. Nothing is off limits, and it's so much fun. Now, people have been speculating and names have been leaking about all the cameos in this film for well over a year at this point in time. So how does it deliver on that regard? Well, this movie actually delivers on what people expected from Multiverse of Madness. This one absolutely goes for it with all kinds of cameos, all sorts of overt references to the comics. Some people just love Cameo Fest. Some people are very cynical, like, no, I want a story, not just a bunch of references and cameos. Because of the nature of the Deadpool franchise, where it has always been irreverent, and always been meta, and always broken the fourth wall, the rules of the franchise allow it to get away with an excessive number of cameos and ridiculous cameos because it's all part of the joke. It's all part of the fourth wall breaking. It's an extension of what's always been in this franchise. All of that just feels organic and natural in the Deadpool franchise. And one of the things that I liked about the way that it did it is that it finds a way to both poke fun at everything, laugh at everything, but it's also a celebration of many of these things. It finds a way to try and honor what's come before and honor many of perhaps these cameos, these references, and celebrate them in a way that's very unexpected. In the way that they're used in the multiverse, their arcs of sorts, their character arcs of sorts, it's designed in a way to give a send-off, to say goodbye and honor them. We're having fun, we're making jokes, but we're not picking on any one person. We're laughing at everything. It's able to laugh at things, but also honor those same things at the same time. And one of the things I enjoyed about the way that it handled the cameos is some of the more extended ones play into some of the movie's themes and ideas, what it's trying to explore, and did something interesting with that, where it's not just a gag, it's not just fun to see someone again. There's a little bit more of a meaning to it in the broader context of the film. And it does some really deep cut jokes with some of the people that appear in this film, but it's all still broadly accessible. But it is also a movie very much designed to put a grin on the face of someone with deep knowledge of the history of Marvel and Marvel films, and even behind the scenes stuff. Ryan Reynolds is in top form here, just delivering line after line after line, fully committed, trying to do everything in his power to entertain. And once again, because of the nature of the film, they're able to play around with him, give him a bunch of different opportunities to do a bunch of wild, crazy, insane things. And the other one you want to talk about in a movie called Deadpool and Wolverine is, of course, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And it's just as much fun as you're hoping for it to be, where Hugh Jackman returns getting to play the most fun version of Wolverine that he's ever gotten to play, but also what Hugh Jackman is able to do that Ryan Reynolds can't do nearly as well is deliver emotional gravitas and sincerity, authenticity, where Ryan Reynolds is just always so irreverent. It's really tough to take any moment fully seriously because there's always a quip right afterwards. Hugh Jackman is able to just bring an utter sincerity to these moments. You're watching a film that is jam-packed with jokes and silliness, but it does have a heart. And that comes down to Hugh Jackman being able to ground it in those moments. It is able to bring out that emotion when it needs to because Hugh Jackman is really good and very versatile as an actor. There is enough heart in this movie where it's kind of about these unlikely heroes. In the one case, Deadpool is the merc with the mouth, not the obvious hero. That's always been who Deadpool is, and he's trying to find his significance and his purpose. And then we're looking at a failed Wolverine.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
And so it's able to take these heroes and give them this journey of trying to discover their purpose and live up to the title of being a hero. It has that heart in there where it's able to pause, to have those emotional moments, to be able to set up the character moments, to have a very impactful, emotional third act that's not just exciting, it's not just gags, it also has the heart and the emotion in it as well. So if you're going into this movie and you just want to have a good time, a bunch of laughs, see Wolverine and Deadpool on screen together with a bit of heart in there, you will get all of that with this movie. You will not be disappointed. My audience broke into applause, I believe 3 times during the film, and I had a grin on my face pretty much from beginning to end. There are more things to discuss with this film, in particular, some questions to answer. So let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. In this section, these aren't good or bad things. They're just things that you might want to know about the movie. In particular, these are a bunch of questions that people have been asking me ever since I posted my out of the theater reaction. First question that came up, is there a post and mid-credit scene in Deadpool and Wolverine? Yes, there's something that runs throughout the credits for a while that fits into what the movie is exploring on a whole. And then there is a post-credits scene. It's more of a joke one, but it's a really good joke one that you want to stick around for. Second question a bunch of people have been asking, did Disney water down Deadpool? Is it as crass as it was before? And what ages are appropriate to see this film? Simple answer, it's essentially on par with Deadpool 2, where there's a bunch of violence, where people are chopped up, blood sprays everywhere. There's plenty of sexual references, innuendo, all of the crass jokes that you expect. You get plenty of that here. But like the first Deadpool film had a few more like graphic images and scenes in the relationship in the movie at the first half of the film. It doesn't have that, but it has all the crass dialogue that was in the second film. As for the question of what ages should watch this film, it's not for me to decide what other people's children should watch, but it's on par with Deadpool 2. What do you need to watch before seeing Deadpool and Wolverine? It's a pretty tough question to answer because the more you've seen, the more you know of Marvel Comics, of Marvel movies, the more references you will catch and the more jokes that you will get. But also, the movie is designed to be straightforward enough that you can watch it without having seen any previous X-Men, Deadpool, Wolverine films, and you will still be able to follow the plot. It catches you up enough on everything that you'll understand it. And there's plenty of jokes for everyone. It's very broadly accessible, but it is also filled with all sorts of deep cuts. Here's where things get really tricky. This movie is very much following up Logan. So it helps a lot if you've seen the movie Logan. But Logan is the end of Hugh Jackman's arc as Wolverine. So I would never recommend watching Logan without having seen most all of everything else that Hugh Jackman did as Wolverine. So then you need to watch all the X-Men and Wolverine films before watching Logan, before you watch this movie. I know that's a lot of homework, which you probably won't be able to do in the next 2 days. There really isn't a clean answer. Right along those same lines, people are asking, do you need to have seen Loki to understand this film because of the appearance of the TVA? Once again, no. The movie explains what the TVA is and what everything is, so you understand it well enough if you haven't seen Loki. But if you have seen Loki, everything has a little bit more meaning, some characters appear, so it has more oomph to it if you have seen Loki. That's kind of the whole way the whole movie is designed to be. And final one here, people are asking, what is this movie's impact on the greater MCU? I didn't perceive of this as a big game changer for the MCU. I didn't want it to be, I didn't need it to be, because it already has enough weight on its shoulders, bringing Fox X-Men into this universe, doing a team-up movie with Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's R-rated, so I don't think it's an appropriate place to make this big important shift in the MCU. So I didn't expect it to be, and I don't think it was this big meaningful shift in the future of the MCU. It doesn't like tease an obvious direction where things are headed. There's some things in here that might be alluding to future things, or they might just be jokes in this movie.
Your little cinematic universe is about to change forever.
No, this is not a game changer for the MCU in terms of the bigger story of everything going on. And I don't think it was ever meant to be. I don't think it's designed to be, and I don't think it should be any of those things. From there, let's move on to the bad. And the biggest issue with this film is that the story itself is completely forgettable. It's very straightforward and simplistic. Now, of course, the original Deadpool had a very straightforward and simplistic story, but it was a revenge story and a love story. When it comes to Deadpool and Wolverine, it feels like we're just trying to come up with some excuse to pull these two characters together, have a bunch of gags, a bunch of cameos, and just enough heart in it. But the actual plot itself, what the villains are trying to do, their motivations, it's entirely forgettable. It's not something that anyone will be talking about. But like as maybe the ultimate example of this, when you get to the third act of this movie, the third act big fight is essentially just a gag. A really funny gag, but it's just a gag situation that isn't really properly set up earlier in the film. It doesn't really have any significance to the conflict that we're trying to overcome in the third act of the movie. It's just, well, of course we have to have a fight right here, so what's a fun bit to do? The story doesn't justify the third act battle at all. With pretty much everything here, if you just step back and try and think through the logic of what's taking place, Logan's connections to Deadpool, the timelines, the continuity, you kind of go, what's going on here? What's the implications of this? When you think through kind of Deadpool's arc in the film and what's revealed that's taken place between films, you kind of go, how does that work? What does that mean? For most of you, that it probably will not detract from any of your enjoyment of this film. But if we're talking about what elevates a movie all the way up or maybe holds it back, the story here is not memorable and it kind of holds it back a little bit. And to that point, this movie is very reminiscent of Spider-Man No Way Home. In both cases, they deliver a great experience for fans of the franchises that celebrate all of these things from the past, do multiverse cameo stuff. They're great theater experiences. But if you removed the fan service elements, the actual plot mechanics, explanations for things, there's some holes in the actual stories themselves. Also, as much as so many of the jokes land, anytime you're throwing jokes at this pace, a number of them fall flat as well. So there's times where it really goes hard on something to go, that didn't quite work. Very much kind of along those same lines, the Deadpool movies and trailers for Deadpool movies are known for their use of the soundtrack. There's some places here where it feels like they're really trying to throw a song in, do the needle drop, and have as many of those moments, and you remember that song specifically in the Deadpool movie. And as much as a bunch of them work, some of them you go, ooh, no, you're trying a little bit too hard there, and that one fell kind of flat. The key thing with this movie is that it is setting out to entertain you. If you want cameos, you will get plenty of them. If you want some top-notch Ryan Reynolds, you will get it. If you want Hugh Jackman delivering a funny and poignant performance with gravitas, you get that. But is this like fine cinema with a super complex, memorable story? No, it is not. It is a movie that its primary goal was to put a smile on your face, and it does that. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts on the movie, remember to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your excitement level for the film if you've seen it. What did you think about it? Also, come back this weekend where I will have a spoiler review for the movie and I will have a bunch of X-Men related rankings. Deadpool and Wolverine is an event film in the vein of Spider-Man No Way Home. This might not be the best movie of the year, but it will be one of the most entertaining films of the year. If you're a Deadpool fan, if you've loved the trailers, you're gonna have a good time at the theater this weekend. Overall, it's a B+, but on the entertainment scale, a 9 out of 10. And for Deadpool fans, this is a must-see movie. It is a wildly entertaining film that it will deliver what you probably want from this film. Be sure to come back this weekend for more Deadpool, Wolverine, and X-Men content. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.